The Tesla Model Y came out nearly a year and a half ago at this point, and I was lucky enough to take an early delivery. With that came some quirks and build quality issues that I've had to deal with since I got the car so early on, but there were some advantages to having the car so early. One of those was something I decided to do by putting the car on Turo. Turo is basically the Airbnb of cars. You rent out the car and make some additional income from it, and many people were excited to check out the Model Y when it first got released, so I was able to cover my payments entirely with Turo rentals initially. Of course, there's always some risk involved there because someone else is driving your car and they could get into an accident. Well, that just happened with my car, so today I'm going to get into all the details of getting my Model Y repaired, dealing with Turo, insurance, the renter, and more, and if I would do it again, so let's get into it, and a special thanks to Omaze for sponsoring this video. Go to omaze.com/Ryan Shaw for your chance to win a Tesla Model S Plaid. As I mentioned, Turo is like the Airbnb of cars. If you need a rental car, instead of going through a big company like Enterprise, you can just check the Turo app and rent from an individual. Hosts go through an approval process, there are various checks in place, and drivers also go through an approval process before being able to drive a vehicle. It's always frightening to give your car away to a stranger, but Turo takes a percentage of your earnings as insurance if anything goes wrong. I'm sure you've heard plenty of horror stories about Turo at this point, and they exist for sure, and have caused me to unlist the Model Y at certain times. I've also unlisted it for a while after trying to fix an issue with my suspension that still isn't resolved. Once that gets fixed, I'll be making a video about it, but I have kept returning to Turo because I know a lot of people that have fleets of Teslas that do very well. If you set it up right with insurance and don't think of your car as your baby, it can prove to be a great business opportunity and a great way to share these cars with others. I had my Model Y unlisted from Turo for a few months, but really wanted to try this idea out and see if I could get some extra income with the car and possibly add another car down the road. I also wanted to wait until I got full PPF on the car, and I did. So I relisted the car, and of course, the first renter got in an accident. The car was set to be returned at 8 p.m., which was something I accepted in the app, and right around 7 p.m., I got a call and a few texts. I called back and it was the renter explaining how they just got rear-ended. This was obviously not an exciting moment for me. My Model Y got in an accident while we were trying to pack up a bunch of boxes and move, and it was a whole thing, but I called up one of my buddies who runs a Tesla fleet and he gave me all of the information I needed, explaining exactly what I needed to do and how I don't need to worry because insurance will cover all of it. The real thing it takes away is my time. The renter was in Bakersfield at the time, and I live in the San Gabriel Valley of Los Angeles, so that's close to 2 hours away. But they did their due diligence, took photos, and got a police report. Luckily, what made it easy for me is that the driver that hit them took fault without question, and that was included in the police report. Unfortunately, something went wrong with the Sentry Mode footage because that clip was not in there. It may have been that it didn't get hit hard enough to trigger it, or that they didn't know how to save the clip manually. Around 10 p.m., they returned my car, and this is what it looked like. From a distance, it's not terrible, but up close you can see some significant damage to the bumper, specific marks from the grille of the car that hit them, pieces of that vehicle's grille, and more. The real damage was to the hatch that was bent, so that means that this entire piece would need replacing. I parked, went to bed, and then took an insane amount of photos the next morning. For Turo, you need to submit a claim within 24 hours, so I made sure to get it in with a million photos so that there were no questions as to the damage based on these horror stories that I've heard in the past. As I mentioned, you can work through Turo, but even Turo recommends trying to resolve it independently first if you can, and that worked easily this time because the person who hit the car took fault. Turo charges fees for dealing with the claim, and I've heard plenty of horror stories of denied claims. You really want to set yourself up the right way, deal with insurance directly, and not just think that Turo will have your back because they took a percentage of your rental. It seems that in general they will, but you don't want to plan for that. So I got the insurance info of the driver that hit the car, which was AAA, and called them up to submit a claim. Then I took the car to a highly recommended Tesla certified body shop for a quote, as well as the detail shop that I had just gotten the PPF installed from. Now you can see the damage to the rear of this car. Overall, it isn't that severe, even though the driver said it felt much more severe than it looks. However, keep in mind that these are expensive vehicles, and body shops now, for these type of cars, take extra care, attention, and work to get their job done properly. The initial estimate from the body shop came in at $7,419.19, $2,915.50 for the parts, $1,488.50 for the body labor, $1,111.50 for the paint labor, $697.50 for the mechanical labor, $855 for paint supplies, $45 for miscellaneous, and $306.19 for sales tax. Some of the most notable expensive parts from this estimate come with the $1,200 liftgate, $375 liftgate glass, $400 rear bumper lower cover, and $680 unpainted bumper cover. For the now damaged and ruined parts of the PPF that I had just installed a couple weeks prior, my quote was $2,150. This is because they will have to entirely redo the rear hatch and rear bumper PPF, along with the ceramic coating on top of it. The old PPF just got thrown away with the old bent parts. It self-heals, but only for small dings here and there, not for an actual accident like this. Also, the parts underneath got replaced, so that would be impossible to take the old PPF and put it on this new car. So my car got rear-ended, and the total estimates for those repairs came in just shy of $10,000 for $9,569.19. I waited for approval on all of this, booked my appointment with Diamond Hills Collision Center, and then dropped it off about 2 weeks later. In the meantime, they took me to Enterprise Rent-A-Car, which only had a Buick Enclave in their fleet at the time. It was by far the biggest car I've ever driven and just barely fit in my garage. Huge change going from the Model Y to this, but the rental place didn't have any electric options, so I was stuck. Maybe if I pushed a little bit harder, I could have gotten something else, but luckily they let me come back and swap it out for an Audi Q5 a few days later, and that's what I had for the duration of this repair, which was about 3 weeks. It was very interesting to drive an Audi for 3 weeks and see certain things that are better and others that are worse than the Model Y. Right away I noticed the ride quality is definitely smoother, and the interior is much quieter. Much less road or wind noise gets into that car, and everything inside just feels sturdier as much note between these cars. However, when I finally got my Model Y back, I didn't miss that Audi at all and much prefer the Model Y. It's just always better when it's electric in my experience, and I just love the minimalist interior of the Model Y. I had a few different estimated completion times for the car from the collision center, and one time it got pushed back specifically for quality control, but when I got the car back, everything pretty much looked as good as new. The final total did come in even higher than the initial estimate though, so we'll get there in just a second. Before we go any further, I'd like to thank today's sponsor, Omaze. We've partnered with Omaze to offer you the chance to win a brand new Tesla Model S Plaid. Yes, Tesla's newest car that I can't stop talking about, and the winner will be among the first to own a Plaid Model S, which is the quickest and most advanced production car ever, going 0 to 60 in under 2 seconds with over 1,000 horsepower. The winner will also be supporting reverb and helping to protect the planet. Obviously, my favorite feature of this car is the launches and being able to experience a crazy roller coaster anytime you like, but the tech inside also makes this car incredibly fun to drive, along with the steering yoke. When you enter, you are supporting Reverb, an organization that partners with musicians, festivals, and venues to, quote, green their concerts, while engaging fans face-to-face at shows to take environmental and social action. Their Music Climate Revolution campaign has eliminated millions of plastic water bottles at concerts, supported 2,000 family farmers, and much more. So for your chance to win this Tesla Model S Plaid, go to omaze.com/Ryan Shaw and enter now. The best part is every donation supports the work of Reverb, so hurry up and head to omaze.com/Ryan Shaw to donate. Good luck! So as I mentioned, the final total of the repairs was higher than the estimate. The final total of everything that was fixed on this vehicle came to a grand total of $8,701.33 for the body repairs due to this collision. This included a huge list of things to check, like maintenance checks, but the most expensive parts and labor came with the liftgate replacement. The part was $1,200, labor $455, and paint was $247 and then $175.50. AAA, the insurance of the person who hit my car, covered this in full, and everything looked pretty much brand new. This was my first experience getting a vehicle repaired at a body shop, so I was very pleased to get my car back with no real evidence of an accident. The only real flaw I noticed was in one of the folds of the hatch with the paint. You can see some buildup of paint material that you never really would notice unless you look there, but it exists and it isn't as clean as it could be. Now, even though my car looks as good as new and it's just as safe as a brand new Tesla, the fact that it has been in an accident alone means that it won't sell or trade in with as high of a value, which leads us to diminished value. Regardless of the actual condition of the car, it now has a reduced value. For example, if I go to trade in my Model Y on Tesla's website at this moment with no accidents selected, they're offering $50,900. If I go back and select the truth, which is previous accident with minor damage, they offer $2,100 less at $48,900. $2,800. First off, those are pretty decent trade-in prices for a car that is over a year old, but as you can see, AAA is now responsible to make up that difference. Their client hit my car and diminished the value of my car, so it's their job to get my car back to exactly what it was before this accident. That $2,100 difference is just an example from a Tesla trade-in though. This isn't actually how diminished value is calculated. There's a whole process that involves taking the NADA clean trade-in value of your car, applying a 10% cap multiplier, applying a percentage of that for major damage to panels and structure, and a percentage for mileage. When I followed the proper steps, my diminished value came out to $4,123.50. I'm still waiting on the final approval on this, but this should be the diminished value that AAA should be paying me. That number estimates how much less my car is worth after this accident. So if I decide to sell, I'll probably make that much less, but AAA will have paid it out to me beforehand. Then there is loss of income. I use this car for business purposes. I rent it out on Turo and I make many YouTube videos with it, so while it was out of commission for a whole month, I could have been doing either of those things. I calculated my estimates for loss of income and loss of rentals, and I'm getting final details from AAA on that soon. Unfortunately, there is no back payment for the loss of time dealing with this incident, filing these reports, calculating diminished value, taking it to the body shop, swapping rental cars, picking it up, taking it to the detail shop for the PPF redo, picking it up, and everything in between that I had to spend time on as a result of this accident. Still, AAA is making me whole, as my dad likes to put it, because I should be back to exactly how my car was prior to being hit. If the accident was my fault, it may have been a different story, but it wasn't. Overall, I was without my Model Y for 20 days while it was at the collision center. My rental car was around $90 each day with additional insurance, and the repairs came to $8,701.33. The paint on this has to cure, but then I will be taking it to Detail Union for PPF in the next couple of weeks. That will cost $2,150 and will probably take 3 to 4 days, meaning I'll be without the car again during that time. Currently, the car doesn't have the rear emblem on it because the previous one was painted matte black. I'm waiting to install it on top of the PPF and get it painted matte black again, so there are still a number of things I'm not doing with this car, like shooting B-roll of the rear, renting it out on Turo until the PPF and emblem are replaced, and more. Then I have a Tesla service appointment for the squeaking in the car that I mentioned long ago, so once that resolves, I'll probably make a video about that as well. As you can see, I've gone through a lot with this car. I had many issues early on that took multiple service appointments to take care of, and now I have another service appointment scheduled for September. That's separate from this accident, but this accident showed just how much it can cost for a Tesla to get into a simple accident, and really showed just how important it is to make sure you have the right insurance coverage. That $10,000 bill was no issue because I dealt with insurance the proper way. So was it all worth it? I've spent a ton of time now on my Model Y getting it fixed, being without the car for weeks. I still have to go to the detail shop and more, all because I chose to rent it out on Turo for a couple $100. Well, based on this one rental's earnings, this was absolutely not worth it. My car is back to normal and I should be making back some loss of income and getting diminished value paid up, but the earnings from that 2-day trip after Turo fees came out to a whopping $378. The time I've spent on this issue is definitely worth more than $378, but I haven't let that get to me. I know many people who run successful Tesla Turo fleets, and I just got very unlucky with this rental. I've had over 10 other rentals in the Model Y aside from this one with no issues, and I know many with hundreds of successful rentals that have had no issues. However, accidents are something that happens, and you can't expect to put your vehicle on Turo and never have it get into an accident, have a bad renter, or other issues. But you can set yourself up properly to handle it so that $10,000 in repairs or more, depending on the accident, are fully on the shoulders of the insurance company. Just keep in mind that sometimes you have to push them because even AAA didn't want to cover any diminished value, loss of income, or even a rental car on par with the Model Y. I had to very clearly tell them that this was what was going to happen because it is returning my car to exactly what it was prior to their client hitting it. Credit to my dad, who has a lot of insurance experience, for helping me out there. If you're looking to use Turo as a way to supplement payments on your personal vehicle that you've worked very hard to buy, I would probably recommend against it unless you have a very strong stomach. You have to detach yourself from the vehicle itself and realize that if you have proper insurance, it can be fixed or replaced at no cost to you. One of the rental fleet owners I know had a beautiful Model S totaled from a Turo rental, and for them that wasn't a big deal. They got paid out by the insurance and everything was fine from a business perspective since they didn't personally attach themselves to this beautiful Model S, and now they've kept kept growing their business. If you finally got your beautiful Model Y, rented it out on Turo to supplement payments, and had it totaled, it might be a little different, and that's the reality of renting out your car. Right now, especially, having a Model Y totaled would mean that you might be waiting until 2022 to actually have a new one to replace it, so that's another issue to possibly consider and be prepared for. Then there are these horror stories. These definitely aren't something to ignore, but they are corner cases, and if you're considering using Turo, you should talk to someone who has had more experience before writing it off completely. Most Tesla fleet owners I know recommend getting off Turo as soon as possible. They don't offer too much value and take a big percentage of your earnings for the insurance that they then deny to customers in these horror stories that you see. Instead, you can build up your own rental business with proper insurance, make more income, and have an all-around better experience. For me, in the future, I'd like to get to a place where I have a vehicle on Turo that isn't my personal vehicle. Having your personal vehicle out of commission after it gets rear-ended, and especially one that you use for YouTube reviews quite often, is very inconvenient. However, if you do your due diligence with maintenance, reporting, and proper insurance, you won't be taking on too much risk by renting out your car. As I said, it can be fixed or replaced, and accidents are rare occurrences. And my plan is to get my rented car off of Turo to do direct rentals as soon as I can. In any case, that was my experience with Turo, getting my car repaired at the body shop, dealing with insurance, and more. I'm glad that it's almost over, but it really has used up a lot of my time. Still, I'm very happy with my Model Y being back to normal, and I'm grateful to have that car. In the meantime, if you want to see the latest about a possible Tesla AI robot, you can check out that video linked up here or in the description below, and don't forget to donate for your chance to win a Tesla Model S Plaid from Omaze. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.